Marc J. Victor. World-renowned man of peace and attorney for freedom. In a world of coercion and war, a peaceful man stands tall. Now, for your weekly dose of freedom and peace. A peaceful man stands tall. Ladies and gentlemen, the man of peace himself, Marc J. Victor, brings to you the Attorney for Freedom show.
Yes, well, once again, as you can see, it's not Mark. I'm filling in for Mark, as I did a couple weeks ago. My name is Mike Wasden, and today I've brought on another special guest, a friend of both mine and Mark's. Eric Cartridge is here. We all know him as...
Eric Cartridge?
We all know him as Eric Rerax.
Your name's Cartridge?
I'm a very relaxed kind of guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
But he's here with us today, and we're just going to be batting around some different stories. Lots in the news right now. We got Jodi Arias, of course, in the news, and then we got the who they're calling the Blade Runner murderer, the Olympian that killed his girlfriend. So we'll talk a little bit about that and some other stories. And as usual, kick around our normal subject, libertarian type stuff, and hopefully get some calls today. Some good callers will come in, and maybe somebody will even want to get on the air. That would be great. We'd like to have that and see how that turns out. So anyway, I guess we could start with the Jodi Arias. As most people, well, I don't know, most people, some people may have seen that Mark actually was called, was on a show and gave his expert legal opinion on the case. And you can find that on YouTube. And he was interviewed and talked about that case. It's a very strange case. Very brutal case, I should say. I think she stabbed him 27 times, shot him in the head, and slit his throat from ear to ear.
Whoa.
Pretty brutal.
Just wanted to make sure he was...
Yeah, she wanted to make sure she got the job done. That's for sure. And she testified yesterday on the stand as to exactly how it happened and what she did and why she did it. She's claiming that it was self-defense. Which is going to be a very tough thing to sell, being in the shower, and she was scared of her life, because it doesn't matter, of course, what he did, if he did anything at all. It doesn't matter what he did before. If he was violent towards her, an hour before or a week before, it doesn't matter. She couldn't claim self-defense, of course, if your life has to be in immediate danger, of course, to claim that. So that's going to be what's interesting about this, how the defense is going to pull it off.
Well, you know what I'd like to know is which did she do first? The 27 stabbings, the throat slitting, or the shot?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or did she stab him 12 times, then
or the poison?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Maybe she did.
Have they said she shot him first and then just?
They may have. I don't know. I
didn't
delve into it that deep, so I don't know exactly how it turned out. But either way, it's still pretty brutal. She went after that and left and drove, I think, to Nevada, and then had a sexual relationship with somebody else that she knew there just after that. So she.
What does somebody have to do to get somebody pissed enough to stab you, shoot you, cut you ear to ear? I mean,
yeah,
you got to really piss someone off.
I would think so. I would think so. Yes, and so hopefully we get some callers in on that today too. If anybody wants to talk about that, we'd love to.
Want to give the number to call in?
Yeah. What's the number, Joe?
480-745-1033.
Yes, call in. We'd love to hear from you. Another big story right now, of course, is the Olympian who killed his girlfriend, shot her. Claims that he thought she was an intruder, I think, is the way that story goes.
Wasn't she in the shower or the bathroom?
And no, she was coming in. I think he was asleep or something late at night, and he said that he heard somebody come in. He thought it was an intruder. I think that's the story that I don't know. I haven't followed it that close as I.
And it had a mask on that looked like his wife. Is that what it was?
No, I don't.
Oh, no.
Actually, a very pretty girl. She was a model, right? She was a model. I think she was a model.
She's true.
A very pretty girl. Which is, it's a sad, these are sad stories. I mean, I don't mean to sound like we're making light of them here. I mean, don't anybody think we think this is funny. It's not funny. It's very tragic stories, but very strange at the same time. And of course, we've got the regular thing we'll bat around today, libertarian issues. We always love to do that. Who owns the property? So Eric loves those types of discussions. So hopefully we'll get some callers in on that too.
Absolutely.
I will probably refer to Eric a lot today because I like to get his view on things. Eric is a no-compromise, hardcore libertarian. There's no compromise with Eric. So you're not going to get him to say, okay, well, I'm willing to compromise a little bit in that area. And I found that out myself today on the way over here. We had a little conversation about a few things, and Eric made it very clear that he doesn't compromise.
You're much too reasonable, Ozzy. I'm unreasonable.
I can be
I
a
don't
little.
compromise.
I can compromise a little. I am known as. I mean, I'm not willing to compromise everything, but I might be willing to compromise a few things to get to the ultimate goal, which is more freedom. Eric is not willing to do that, and so he's probably more hardcore than I am, if anybody can believe that. But I found that out on the way over here. And anything else going on right now that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I liked what we were talking about on the way over. You told me something interesting that one of the Columbine victims from 1999 just came out and criticized Obama's view on gun control.
Yeah, that was interesting. He was one of the ones that actually got shot back then, and he wrote Obama, it's in the news today, he wrote Obama a letter saying that he disagreed with his policies on gun control, which is interesting because he's a victim of gun violence, and most of the time those people end up being like Brady or somebody like that goes the other direction and ends up being,
right, save
anti-gun.
us, save us,
Save
take
us.
everyone's guns away, and then we'll all be safe.
We need the
right?
government to save us, kind of. So it was interesting that he didn't go that way, and he wrote Obama a letter stating that he was wrong on all his gun policies. So that's another interesting story that's going on. It seems like everything is around guns. I don't know. It's like that's all that's in the news anymore. I mean, we've got both these stories. The Petraeus, is his name Petraeus? I think it's Petraeus, and Arias, and the Columbine all have to do with guns, of course, being in the story, which is kind of ironic. It seems like that's all we talk about anymore on this show, which I kind of want to get away from. I mean, I don't mind talking about guns, but it kind of gets monotonous because that's all we seem to want to talk about anymore. Not want to talk about, but that's all we talk about because that's all that's in the news.
Well, the news media has been blitzing us in preparation. They're blitzing. It's a propaganda blitz in preparation for this new legislation they're trying to cram through. I think it's deliberate. They're doing it on every network. Every time you turn around, it's guns, 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 and it's it's the media doing it, and so we're kind of responding to that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get back to the subject of hand. I mean, this is the Attorney for Freedom show, and although guns are part of freedom, of course, it's not what we mainly want to talk about. There are a lot of other issues. I'd like to get back into the personal freedoms, things like that. Those are the subjects that we like talking about the most here. And it's always interesting when the callers call in and want to ask a question on where we stand on certain things. And because our answer is going to be the same. As Marc says all the time, the question really is the same. It's just asked a different way. I mean, whether you're talking about prostitution or legalized drugs or whatever it is, it's still the same question. It's just asked in a different way, but it's still the same
Freedom's
question.
the answer?
Freedom is the answer.
What's the question?
What's the question? Exactly. So I would like to get back into more of that today, but we can talk about the news events too. But Marc, I guess I should tell a little bit why Marc is not here. Marc had to fly out kind of last minute on another case that he's got in another state, so he flew out for that and asked me at the last minute to kind of fill in for him. So I didn't prepare a whole lot today because it was kind of a last minute thing. Did you have something, Joe?
Oh, sorry, my mic wasn't on, was it? I was just hanging up on somebody.
Oh, I heard you. Okay. I thought you had somebody on the phone.
No, I actually just got off. Matt Piedmont, Tacoma, Washington says, these kind of things happen anywhere. It's because it's made mainstream media that makes them so incredible. If people don't like the U.S., they are free to move.
Okay. What does that mean?
He was talking about the news stories. He's like, everybody was just kind of ranting about how the news stories are just bringing up certain things they want to be brought up, and he was one of those.
Okay.
So he's kind of agreeing with us. They're like blitzing it.
I don't know.
In a way, and in a way not. Like, just leave it alone and what's up. And I
didn't understand the last part about if you don't like it, leave. I mean, what does that have to do with the news stories? Who's, if you don't like it, leave the country.
He was home on the couch eating Cheetos, just looking for something to do. But that's cool.
Okay, all right, that's
right
fine.
on, Matt.
Thanks for your well thought out position on that.
Well, I will say, I see this on blogs all the time, or I get into arguments with these Republican types who insist that, even though I was born here, that if I don't like it, if I'm not in favor of their big government police state or their wars or high taxes or, pick an issue, it doesn't matter. These guys are always, well, you go find an island, you libertarians all go find an island somewhere to live and, whatever. And I'm like, no. Don't give me this love it or leave it stuff. I mean, that went away with Vietnam, right? I mean, that's what the rednecks all said to the war protesters. If you don't like our war and our country, just leave. It's like, we have a right to be here. We were born here.
It's the attitude that if you don't toe the line and agree with the status quo, you should leave. What kind of philosophy is that? What kind of an attitude? What kind of a slave mentality is that?
It's ridiculous. It's completely backwards. I'm like, no, you are the guys that are committing aggression against me. You're the ones that want my money, want to lock me in a cage, whatever. I'm not asking you to leave. I'm just asking you to leave me alone.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. All we're asking is to be left alone. We're not asking anything of those people. We're not asking any. Look, if you want to live where you pay in 50% of what you make to the government, and the government tells you how to live your life in every way, we got no problem with that. All we're asking is, why should we have to live that way? Why should you force your views on us? If we want to live a different way, does that mean we should have to leave the country we were born in?
Just give me an opt-out clause. I opt out. I don't want to collect Social Security and Medicare. I'll take care of myself. I'll just keep my money. Thank you very much. You guys can have your system.
They can even keep the money they've collected up until this point. I'm fine with that.
I'd be good with that.
Yeah, just keep me out of anything in the future. I mean, but people act like you're some kind of a communist or something if you say things like this. Like, how dare you?
Well, they're the communists.
Well,
we
know
the
that,
individualists.
But they try to turn it around on you like you're the one with the problem. You're anti-American.
Right. They can't stand that you don't want to be a member of the club.
And what they don't understand is the real American attitude is our attitude. The ones who founded this country had our attitude. They were the ones that didn't take any, crap from anybody. They had our attitude and our philosophy. So we're the ones that really have the American attitude. And so when they try to turn it around on them, it's just funny when they try to turn that around on us.
Yeah, why should we leave? They let them go to France or Russia or somewhere else. I mean,
they're the ones with the more socialist attitude.
Right.
I mean, this country was not founded on socialism. This country was founded on capitalism.
Hell, just give me one state. I'll take one state. You can have the rest.
Just Red from Solvane says, I just want to know, who's the guy in the red? I think he meant the purple or whatever color that is.
Right.
And he says, what does he do, and who is he to have an opinion? There's an interesting one for you. I've never had that one, so I thought that was kind of fresh.
I introduced him when he first maybe he wasn't.
Have an opinion.
I owe Joe some money, so he had.
So I said, you know what? You wipe it even, and you can have an opinion today only.
I introduced him when we first got it, but maybe he wasn't listening at the time. Eric is both a friend of mine and Mark's, and when I found out that Mark was...
No, he's my friend, too.
Oh, I'm sorry, and friend of Joe's, yes.
Right.
Okay, he's a friend of all ours. And when I found out that Mark couldn't be on the show today, I asked Eric to come on, and we kick around some libertarian issues. Eric is a hardcore, like I said, no-compromise libertarian, and I wanted to have him on because he's great when those issues come up, and I wanted to hear his side and help hopefully get some people call in, because unlike me, I might compromise a little bit on some things. Eric won't compromise on anything. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted Eric on the show today, to get his perspective on things.
And I'm here to keep you and Mark honest while you run this campaign for Congress or whatever. If you get too compromisey, I'll be sure and let you know.
And when he will, too. And that's another thing, too, we can talk about today is Mark pretty much was in the press yesterday. Kind of a story kind of leaked out that he had a conversation with Ron Paul. And the story kind of leaked out to the press, and the press ran with the story and kind of said things that were, you know how the press is. They'll add things to it. Kind of gave the impression that Ron Paul had endorsed Mark. Well, we very much know that Ron Paul and Mark are very good friends. We know this. They have been for years, long before Mark ever talked about running for office. So, of course, does he support him? Of course. Will he endorse him? Out in the open? We don't know yet. We're going to see if that happens. We know he behind the scenes, I know that he supports Mark, and Mark supports him. So we'll see what kind of, if anything comes out like that. But that's up to Ron Paul. I can't speak for Ron Paul. So the story yesterday kind of gave the impression that someone said that Ron Paul was going to endorse Mark, and that hasn't happened as of yet. So maybe clarify that. but I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen. But it hasn't happened as of yet. So that was a big story yesterday. It got out in the news, and it started a firestorm. Media. I had a couple people from the media call me and wanted to know, if it was true. And so it was kind of interesting yesterday. A little bit of press about Mark. And anybody wants to see that story, it's on the New Times. A lot of websites now, actually, different websites picked it up now. Different media sources picked it up and ran with it. But the original story was on New Times here in Phoenix, and which
is what PhoenixNewTimes.com, right?
PhoenixNewTimes.com. And if you type in Kirsten Sinema Mark Victor into Google, the story comes right up if you add those two things together. And Mark is going to be running for Congress, and he is going to be running in CD9 here in the Phoenix area against Kirsten Sinema. And so he's going to be running as a Republican this time. So last time he ran as a Libertarian, which is why this made so much, I think, news, because people are interested to know why he's changed to a Republican. And it has a lot to do with, of course, the talk with Ron Paul. So Mark is going to be running as a Republican this time, and we are hopefully going to get that kicked off very soon. We've kind of made an early announcement on it, though, already. And, Joe, did you have a caller?
I did. Gene Andrews, I don't know if I'm missing something. You guys are kind of working people up a little bit.
Okay.
Gene Andrews from Florence, Arizona says, how do you feel about the FEMA camps put right down the road in Florence, Arizona? Better be careful what you say because you could end up in one.
What's her name? Is her name again?
Gene Andrews from Florence.
Gene, I'm probably already on any list that's out there, I'm sure. So I'm not too worried about that. I'm sure me and Eric probably are already on any list that probably has anything to do with that.
Yeah,
so,
if you ever registered as a libertarian
yeah,
in your life, you're on the list.
Is that true?
I would. If you
probably,
had,
huh?
Yeah, why not?
If you have a Ron
Right.
Paul bumper sticker on your car or anything like that, you're probably on a list already. So I guess I'm just making the point that at this point, I don't think I'm going to worry too much about that. But no, I mean, I'm sure you're right. I'm sure there are some FEMA camps down there. I mean, I don't know personally.
Well, they already have a big prison complex there, right?
Right.
What's it take to enclose
the bologna's not quite as good, I guess, at the FEMA camps, I think. It's not as fresh.
It's green still.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I say, I long have gone past worrying about things like that because I figure, at this point, even if I tried to lay low, it wouldn't help. I'm already on their radar, so it's not going to change much on that.
Hey, maybe we'll get lucky. I mean, the whole police state thing might just fade away like Soviet Russia did, right? I mean, they didn't go. There wasn't some big civil war or anything. They just went bankrupt. They ran out of money, and they said, well, we no longer have any money for the police state, so guess what? You're all free.
That could happen.
Wow.
That could happen. That would be great, but I don't.
Would it be great?
If they ran out of money.
What would happen then? I mean, what would actually happen?
Well, I mean, look at like Eastern Europe, right? Yeah. I mean, Poland and Czechoslovakia and Hungary and all those places. I mean, they were, being watched over by the Russians and the Soviet tanks and all that. And then one day in 1989, it was like, okay, we're gone, we're done, and now Eastern Europe's great. Yeah, they're like, that's it, do what you want, and
that may happen, but I don't think it's going to happen real soon. I think they're going to play this out as long as they can, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. With all the new gun legislation, all they're trying to get passed. I mean, we've all seen that before. If anybody knows the history of gun control, then they know that's the first thing governments do.
Want to make sure to strip us down before,
sure. I mean, they don't, you can't defend yourself,
nice.
if you don't have weapons. So that's what's going on right now with all this legislation. That's really the government always uses guises for everything. They love it when stories like Columbine and the Sandy Hook shooting happen because it gives them a reason to do all these things. Just like with 911. I'm not going to say whether I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories that fly around about that, and I don't really know how involved the government was, but I will say this: if they were involved or not doesn't really matter because they enjoyed, or what I'm trying to say, they exploited it. Yes, they exploited it regardless. So that's the bigger story here is whether they were involved or not doesn't even matter because they exploited that and ran with it, and that's why we've got the Patriot Act and all this legislation that's running around that's stripping rights. That's where all that comes from. So this is the same thing with all these other. When you see the Columbine and the Sandy Hook shootings, these are things that they will exploit, and they do exploit, and they have been exploiting, they will continue to exploit. So I'm not so much interested really whether they had a part in it or not. That doesn't matter as much as what they do with it after it happens.
True. I mean, the legislation's always sitting on the shelf.
Yeah, it's ready to
for
go.
all this stuff, whether it's gun control or creating new TSAs or whatever else. All that's just sitting and waiting, and the right tragedy comes along, and somebody goes, "Oh, we got this law. It's 900 pages. We got to pass it today. Sign here, sign here."
Wasn't
sign
that
here.
interesting? That just days after 9/11, the
Well, yeah,
Patriot Act,
right, the thing-
how many pages was the Patriot Act?
Like 1,000 or something,
And it was
ridiculous.
ready to go.
That's amazing,
It
huh?
was ready to
They
go.
write fast.
I mean,
Yeah, there's a
really-
lot of.
I
I mean,
mean,
it's like elves.
I know you
Like
think
elves
to
around
yourself,
Christmas.
You think to yourself something like that might take, I don't know, months, maybe a year to
Right.
actually
While
write,
the third
right?
tower was in the midst of collapsing, they were busy writing.
Yeah.
"Oh, we got to do something.
So, just to be
Sure.
just to be certain, everyone understands. I'm not saying the government, did whatever. I don't know, and I don't care.
Nobody knows.
That's not what we're saying. We're just saying they were ready for it. They were ready for the next big tragedy, just as they were with Sandy Hook and all this stuff. They were ready. This was like a dream come true for them. The Sandy Hook was a dream come true for gun grabbers everywhere. As soon as this happened, you saw them in the news. I mean, Mark even debated one of them right after that incident on the news. That's on YouTube too. That's a good little exchange he had with a anti-gun activist. But what we're saying here is the government exploits these things, and they live for these things because there's not. I mean, the government lives to say you need me. If you don't need them, they're inexistent. What are they around for? So they want you to they want to exploit that and make you think you need them. So that's what all this really comes down to.
Fear.
Yeah. Without the government, who will build the roads? Without the government, who will protect our kids? Without the government, who will give us shoes? Without the government, who will feed our kids? It's the same thing over and over again. And it's not an American way of thinking, because the founders of this country certainly had a much freer, mindset than your average politician or even person today has. Yeah. So that's what we're really getting at. Is we on this show we talk about freedom, and that's what we try to get at the heart of where this stuff really, what it's all about. So I don't want to get into conspiracy theories and things like that, and I'm not even making a point one way or the other about conspiracy theories, but I'm just simply saying that it has nothing, really doesn't matter to me one way or the other on that. It's what happens after the fact is what I'd like to talk about. And Joe, did you have somebody? Oh, he's on the phone with somebody. I'm sorry. But anyway, Eric, getting back to we were talking the stuff we were talking about coming over here. The gentleman that wrote the letter to Obama. Did you get actually a chance to read that?
I did. Yeah, I read the article on my phone when we were coming over, and it was great. I mean, it basically said, all this stuff about restricting magazine capacity or types of guns is ridiculous. The guy even went as far as to say, doing background checks on people is ridiculous, because then it's still going to be the same thing. Only criminals will have guns, and
Well, we knew that already, of course.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear somebody from his perspective say it, because he could have gone the other way after this. He could have gone the other way and gone with the whole, we need government to protect us from these terrible things. But he, was smart enough to see that had a teacher been armed at Columbine or two, that might have not happened. That might not have gone down exactly like that. You had one or two teachers armed when those kids came in with the weapons. Who knows what could have happened?
Well, it would have had to have been different.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and it could have only been better,
Yeah.
I would think. I mean, how could it be worse?
Well, this day and age, though, there'd be all kinds of lawsuits after the fact, no matter what happened.
Well, that's true.
Don't you think?
True.
That's
yeah,
true,
true.
but-
Even if the
And
teacher
these
shot one of the
teachers who
killers,
sit there and make
right.
20-something thousand a year, they have to wonder, wow, am I risking my entire life by doing this and
But
pulling out a weapon? I mean,
there's a saying.
come
Joe,
on, I
I'm
would
sure-
have done it, wouldn't you have? I mean, but
Of course.
still.
Joe, but there's this old saying, I'm sure you've heard it, that you'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, in that position, I think I would too. I'll take my chances.
Terrence from Abilene called in and said, so I want to know your personal opinion. What do you think? Do you think it was set up by the government? And he says, please, really, I like the show, but I want to know your personal opinion on the 9/11 setup.
Oh, you're just not going to be happy until you get.
I mean, it was really, he says, I want to know what the personal opinion is here.
I have a good. I'll
Okay.
give my answer first.
Well, go ahead.
And then you can give yours. Mine's simple, because I mean, these things are incredibly complicated, right? There's all
right.
kinds of evidence for this and that out there, all kinds of opinions, and I'm not a physicist or whatever. Here's what I will say. The quote-unquote official story is not true.
Oh, I agree.
That thing is full of holes. Now, what the actual truth is, I don't claim to know. And, for me, kind of the smoking gun that the official story isn't true is that within 36 hours, and I thought this was kind of the most interesting part about it. Everybody talks about Building 7 this or the Pentagon that or whatever, and I don't know a lot about that. But I found it really interesting that the crime of the century was solved in 36 hours. It was about a day and a half after the planes hit the towers. What came up on the news? Boom, 19 mugshots of 19 Muslim guys. Well, here's all their names. These guys are from Saudi Arabia.
Knew everything.
From Yemen.
Then all the evidence was kind of covered up and sent away. And
Right. They're like, well, we solved this crime. I mean, what do the police or the government do when some other crime happens? Oh, we're hiding the details till we learn everything.
Yeah.
We're still investigating for months and months and months.
They don't even comment
the crime
on it.
in the century, huge explosions. The evidence is mostly destroyed. Where do they get these 19 mugshots? These guys' names? We know these guys did it. I mean, really? And then, for years and years after, to the present day, 12 years later, the story hasn't changed. There's no new suspects, new leads, new evidence, nothing. I'm like going, well, all right. So that story's BS. What the truth is, I couldn't tell you.
I kind of sit exactly where Eric is on this. I think the truth lies somewhere between the actual conspiracy theories and the government story. Now, to which side that leans to, I don't know. Which side it leans to more? Probably more towards the conspiracy. I'd be willing to go that it leans more that way just because I don't trust the government. But it's, I mean, there's stories. I mean, they've had engineers actually look into things like, steel beam girders melting, and it's impossible at that temperature to do it, and things like that. It calls into question, things like that. And then I think was it Building 7, the one that went
that wasn't hit by a plane.
It wasn't. It had some surface fire caused by papers or something, and it got hot enough to drop. I mean, I don't know.
Well, then now they're saying, supposedly some debris from one of the other buildings hit the back side, and they don't normally show that. And I'm like,
I don't know.
I don't know.
Is a debris on fire going to bring a building down? I don't know. It's yeah. So, like I say, where I stand on it is, I don't believe the government story. I don't know how much of the conspiracy side is true. I think the truth lies somewhere in between those two, and probably more towards the other side, away from the government. So if that makes me a conspiracy theorist, maybe it does. But I don't buy into every single thing, because conspiracies, well, actually, I've got to say it about conspiracies. They're not all conspiracies, and they're not all theories. There's
true.
They're not. I mean, in other words, they're not all believable. They're not all true, but some of them also are not, just theories.
That's true. Things happen in the world for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Powerful people get together and plan stuff, right? Wars don't spontaneously break out generally, right? People
this has happened
build
all
an
throughout
army,
history.
make a plan,
This is not a new thing either. This isn't new. This just didn't happen with our government in the last 200 years.
No.
I mean, Nero fiddled while Rome burned, right? I mean,
Right.
we know this has happened throughout history. Government does this. This is how they maintain power, because it's all about power. That's all this really is. It's a power thing and a money thing. So that's what's really going on. So where I stand on it, I don't want to say I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I don't believe the government either. So somewhere in between there, I think the truth lies, and so I'm more like with Eric on that, as far as that goes.
Well, let's get with Sarah Edwards here from Bedford, North Carolina. Says, what's the deal with the Arias case? Tell us a bit about that. Does the show have something to do with our personal rights, or does this case?
I'm sorry. Does the show have?
Does the case? I meant.
Oh, okay.
Does the case have something to do with our personal rights? The Arias case.
I mean, no, not really. This is just an interesting news story that's going on right now. Mark has been asked several times to comment on it, and has. He's got some stories out there. The media has asked him to comment on it. Mark is a criminal law specialist, so the media calls on him a lot in cases like this that aren't even his case to give his opinion. He was also called for the what was the one, the shooting, the young black man that was killed by the I can't even remember the name of that one now. Trayvon Martin.
Oh, right.
Trayvon Martin. Mark was asked to comment on that one, and he's comments on a lot of different things. And this is just really in the news right now. I mean, it's a case from Arizona, and it's all in the media right now, so it's relevant to us since we are here in Arizona. I mean, I know that all the callers are not from Arizona, so it may not be as relevant to you, and I understand that. But it's just an interesting case, no matter where you're from, even I would think.
Well, I think I'm sorry. What's the caller's name or the?
Sarah Edwards.
Sarah. Okay. I mean, I think what she's saying is what does this case have to do with our rights? I would say nothing. But it's an object lesson in how not to plead self-defense.
Well, yeah. I mean. That might be good, Eric. Yeah.
I mean, people talk about that all the time, right?
And I want to make it clear too that I'm not an attorney, so anything I say is simply my opinion. And Eric is not an attorney.
You're an attorney spokesmodel.
No, I am not.
Right?
No, I'm neither. And Joe.
But you look nice though.
So
and he plays one on the radio.
Sometimes I play one on the radio, but no. Seriously, all kidding aside, I am not an attorney, and I have to say that because anything I say cannot be construed as a legal opinion or anything other than just my opinion. So I want to make that clear that anything I say in this would only be my opinion and my opinion only. And so
if we were here for full entertainment purposes, they could put $2.99 a minute in their phone and we could do something, right?
That's true. It's your station.
Hey.
I don't know, but that would be charging for legal services. That again would be against the law, so I can't do that either.
Darn it.
Oh, you don't have the secret permission slip.
No, I don't. Yeah. I don't. So I want to make that clear that those issues we're discussing here today are simply opinions of ours. They're not legal opinions. But if anybody wants to know anything to do with legal opinion on this, you're welcome to contact Mark on that, and he'll be happy to give you his legal opinion on it. So getting back to this, it's like Eric said, it might be an example of how not to plead insanity. Not insanity, self-defense, excuse me. Self-defense.
Or how not to engage in self-defense.
How not to engage in self-defense. Her story, that is her defense, is that it was self-defense, that he was very violent, I guess, and very abusive towards her and throughout their relationship. And she claims that she killed in self-defense. It just makes it a little tough to sell that story based on when she decided to kill him. He was in the shower, taking a shower at the time, so unless she felt threatened by him with a bar of soap, I don't know. It's going to be a tough sell.
He might be good with a bar of soap.
How big was the bar of soap?
I don't know.
Was it sharp?
I don't know, but it's this also happened right after they had just engaged in a sexual relation or whatever you want to
That's why.
So just minutes after, I think, 'cause he was in the shower.
He didn't get the job done, obviously.
Well,
right.
I don't want to go there.
Okay.
Right?
Should we take a quick commercial break?
Yeah, well, maybe we should take a quick commercial break.
Sponsor break, and then we'll come right back with we'll take some more questions from some of you guys that want to know what's up or have some comments or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yep, that
All
sounds
right,
good.
well, let's
We can
do
do
it.
that.
We'll be right back. You listen to KQCK radio station out here in Santan Valley, Queen Creek, Phoenix, and the world.
Are you planning on starting a new business in this economy? As a new business, you know you'll need to watch every single dollar. Before you make any decisions on phone service, call Zentrus Communications at 1-877-ZENTRUS. That's 1-877-936-8727.
Our family pets are such a big part of our lives. That's why Kelly's Critter Clips of Queen Creek and Sun Lakes has been providing pet grooming services for over 10 years. Your dog's comfort is very important to us, so we take the time to treat your pet with care, love, and professional attention it deserves. We welcome any size and breed and feature shampoo and conditioning, styling, flea and tick dips, ear cleaning, nail trimming, and so many other services that will leave your pet looking good and smelling good and feeling great, all at an affordable price. Located in Queen Creek and Sun Lakes, call now for an appointment, 480-655-5066. Kelly's Critter Clips. Are you ready to start taking control of your future and maximize your earning potential? Central Arizona College has smaller class sizes and personalized attention to help you compete in today's tough job market. CAC now serves Santan Valley and Queen Creek. The CAC Santan Center is located in the shops at Copper Basin on Hunt Highway, behind Barrow's Pizza. Stop in and see how taking classes at CAC costs a fraction of a state university, and your credits can transfer. So, if you want to earn real money, you need to learn real skills at Central Arizona College. Enroll in classes today by calling 480-677-7825 or visit www.centralaz.edu or call 480-677-7825 or visit www.centralaz.edu. Central Arizona College, your way.
As a small business owner, you need to make every dollar count. Phone services are the first indication of quality your customers see in your business.
Get all the latest features at a great monthly cost that can save you money and project your business as a professional entity.
Call Zentris Communications at 1-877-ZENTRIS. That's 1-877-936-8727.
That's 1-877-936-8727.
Are you having plumbing or septic problems? No worries. Call Cartwright's Queen Creek Plumbing and Septic Service. Been in the Valley since 1996. Family owned and operated. Proudly serving East Valley and surrounding areas. With a full range of services from drain cleaning, septic tank pumping, general maintenance and repairs, inspections for the sale of your home. They provide excellent and courteous service for all your plumbing and septic needs. We're not satisfied till you are satisfied. Licensed, bonded, and insured. Call today. Cartwright's Queen Creek Plumbing and Septic Service. Contact Denise at 480-987-8051. That's 480-987-8051. Hi, Marie here for wannasing.com. Are you looking for professional DJ or karaoke services for your next holiday party or get-together? wannasing.com can provide the best in sound, lighting, and a professional MC to host your next event. Whether it be a company party, birthday party, wedding, or any occasion, wannasing.com is ready to provide the fun and make it a night to remember for years to come. Call 480-664-8801. That's 480-664-8801. Mention this radio ad and receive a special discount for your next fun event. wannasing.com.
Okay, we're back. Are we back?
We are back. Okay, and I'm just looking up here. Somebody says, hey, I finally get to see the show live.
All right, great. Yeah, we had to pay a few bills, so we paid a few bills, and now we're back. And we'll talk about some other issues going around right now. Was it a couple weeks ago, Eric? There was something in the news about you can be charged with a DUI, even say a week after you smoked marijuana, and then a week later you get pulled over. It's still in your system. You can now be charged with a DUI.
Well, I just read this. It's the news part of it. I think that's always been the case in Arizona, where like if there's any marijuana in your system, or technically it's THC metabolites is what the article
So then really
says.
They can pick like 1 out of 2 people and just kind of target them at random.
I would guess, right? I mean, supposedly how many, 50 million people in the country smoke or something, right?
Something like that.
This is in Arizona, but they're saying that, if somebody smoked a week or 2 weeks ago and they're perfectly sober driving, but they're still going to have some THC metabolite.
Yep. Even with a card?
Well, that's a second issue.
With what?
A card.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, I haven't. Yeah, that's a question. So let's say somebody that has a medical marijuana card gets pulled over and they get their blood tested and whatever, and so the state says, yeah, okay, you test positive, we're going to charge you with a DUI. The defendant goes, no, I have a medical marijuana card, I'm good with that. That hasn't been tested yet in court, at least not that I know of, as a defense to DUI here in Arizona.
So that's going to be interesting too.
It'll be very interesting.
To see how that goes.
The two laws are obviously conflicting.
Very
right?
good chance that'll be Marc.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, Mark searches out cases like that. He loves cases like that. He's been looking for one for a long time now. That he talks about it every gun show. It's the one where when the police officer pulls you over, you have a right to. Anytime you have a right to remain silent. You can plead the fifth any time. But if he asks you, do you have a gun in your car, you have to answer that correctly.
You do.
Yes, you do by law. So it's an interesting story. On the one side, you've got the right to remain silent. On the other side, you have to incriminate yourself now if he asks you that question.
Wow.
So let's say you're a prohibited possessor and you have a gun in your car. Okay, he asks you, do you have a gun in your car? You've just incriminated yourself by answering that question.
By law.
Yeah, and you can't plead the fifth.
You're stuck either way.
How can you not?
So
right.
How does that work? Mark's been looking for that case for a while. He would love to get a case like that. So that's so there's these. This is just another example of just that
same
thing.
thing, right? One law says, "Oh, you're a DUI." The other law says, "Oh no, you're a medical marijuana patient."
Yeah.
So that's legit. And then the state could come back and go, "Well, we don't let people high on Vicodin and Valium go driving around either, just because they have a prescription."
Yeah.
I mean, so you're.
Then they get into the proof of how long ago it was that you smoked.
Right, which
and
you
that
can't,
becomes
which
into a real big.
But the real story
right.
is: are you capable? Are you competent of operating your vehicle? Just because you may have remnants of something in your system doesn't mean that you were impaired. And that's what it really comes down. Are you impaired? So if someone's high on Vicodin, if they're high right now on Vicodin or something, if they're high on a drug, any drug, or
they
alcohol,
shouldn't be driving.
Right
they're
now,
swerving all over the road or whatever.
It's impairing them. Yeah, then they should be on the road. But if it's something that's just a remnant in their system and it's not affecting them in any way, then that's crazy.
Because if you really look at it, I mean, there's other things that they could really be getting on, like Benadryl. I mean, people take Benadryl, and for the next day after that, they're pretty darn tired.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty valid.
Yeah, and that's true. And Joe brings up another point. You can also get, a DUI. I mean, not a DUI, but you can also be, cited for driving while too tired.
And I'm told you can even get a DUI on a bike now with a
bicycle.
medical marijuana card. Yep, I know a guy who got nailed on a bike.
Seriously?
He ran into a tree, but
Oh, wow.
Well, if you're impaired in any way, and that includes sleep, if you're tired, you're impaired.
Yes, you are.
You're a danger to somebody driving if you're tired, so.
Well, the bike thing I got to take issue with. I mean, if a guy's not driving his car.
Yeah, but they can get you on a bike. They can get you on a lawnmower for a DUI. You know that, right?
I've seen a case like that.
I haven't heard that yet, but that'd be interesting.
So let's say a guy loses his license, right? He's got a DUI. He loses his license for a year or two, whatever. So he's riding his bike. And he rides down to the bar, and he drinks 6 beers, drives home, and the cops pull him over on his bicycle. He runs
into another kid on a bike, and then he's hanging in a tree because he hits a low-hanging branch, and the cop comes by, and he says, "What's up, dude?" And he's totally drunk, or whatever, right? Should he not? He's got a kid laying on the ground there.
Well, no, wait a minute. You're assuming the person hit somebody.
No. I'm saying the guy I know really did.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well,
I don't know him well, okay?
I'm looking.
I don't hang out with him, but, he had a kid on a bike.
There's been an assault then. That's a crime.
I mean but he got a DUI.
Well, sure. I mean,
on a bicycle.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, I mean, hey.
Wow.
They probably assumed he had no money, couldn't get an attorney, and, I have no idea, but...
Well, I mean, he definitely committed an assault.
He definitely did.
I mean,
he hurt the kid.
That has to be addressed.
Doesn't there have to be intent for there to be an assault? And Mike's not a lawyer.
Well, that's right. Don't get into this.
Yeah, right. Let's not do that.
All right. Mark's not.
So I recommend they cut off his second toe. Just to try to make an example out of him. Dropped a DUI, lose him a toe, and he's probably not going to do it again, right?
You're one of those jihadi guys.
Yeah,
is that what they do in Saudi Arabia?
That's what
maybe they shouldn't do that then. All right, never mind.
No, I don't think so. I don't like that idea.
Fire ants. Never mind.
But that does bring
Scorpions.
up an interesting thing, though. Now people are going to be
pretty wild. Yeah, it's pretty weird.
I mean, imagine that someone that's
skateboard, anything, right? At that point.
Yeah. I guess so.
Well, I mean, it's one thing if somebody's crashed into somebody or they're swerving all over the road and there's evidence. There's some evidence, but I mean, the idea that there's
but what if they're driving down the road and they're driving down and they're a danger to themselves? Then what? Same thing, right?
Save the children.
Ooh, yeah, right. Let's get him quick before he.
Well, now we're into the pre-crime theory, and I've had discussions even with libertarians about this. I'm pretty hardcore on this.
Trying to keep it interesting here, that's all.
I don't, as far as I'm concerned, there's no crime until there's a victim. So the idea that some behavior might be risky or dangerous or whatever.
Because anything's an if.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. There, no victim, no crime. That goes along with the whole DUI thing.
Right.
Has somebody committed a crime?
Not till they hit somebody.
I mean, is it illegal to skydrive after having a shot? I mean, you're putting yourself at risk. I mean, but isn't that your prerogative?
Well, it's not even that. I mean, on the road, the argument would go, well, if you've been drinking and you go on the road, everybody else is at risk.
Right.
But my argument would be simply that 99.9999% of people that drink and drive get home safely. So what's the risk? I mean, everybody claims there's this huge risk, but that's just not true. I mean,
I know, but I got it. But see, this is I'm the compromiser on this one, Eric.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the compromiser.
You and Mark, we've had this conversation.
I just don't. I think, look, if you're putting other people in danger, you don't have to wait till you're actually, as Mark said, the fist coming to your face before you do something, right? I mean, you don't. That he's putting. There's a higher risk now because he's impaired and he's on the road. There's a higher risk to me and everyone else. So I don't know. I don't. In that case,
so there's a right to be free from risk somewhere. I'm not buying that. Where's that? Is that Amendment 26? I missed that one.
But I mean, I don't know. I don't see anything wrong with keeping certain things like people from doing things that are going to put other people at higher
problem
risk.
with it is this though is now we have the system we have now where there's all kinds of people that really haven't hurt anybody. In fact, the vast majority of people who are convicted of a DUI or whatever haven't even really there's been no great risk to everybody else. I mean, you hear the publicized cases of the guy that's 0.23 and he's swerving all over the road and hurt somebody.
Out a bus of kids.
But that's like the 1 or 2% of the cases. The other 98% of the people that are locked in cages and lose their right to drive and stuff are just normal people who had a few drinks after work, didn't hit anybody, didn't hurt anybody. It comes down to the same thing
with me.
The state just wants their money.
But to me, it's are you impaired? If you've had a beer after work and can still get in your car and drive, fine. I got no problem with that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you've had any alcohol at all, you should be hit. But that's not what I'm saying. If you're impaired at all, though, if you are impaired, you are a danger to other people out there. And it's not the same thing as someone saying, well, what about somebody who has a gun? They're a danger. No, they're not, because just owning a gun simply in itself doesn't put anyone else in danger. It's what you do with it. But when you get behind a car and you're impaired and you're driving that 3,000-pound bullet down the road and you're impaired, it does make a little bit different than just simply owning a gun.
So how does that have to do with differently if you smoke pot then? Can you still own a gun? Because you're putting people at risk, aren't you? If you're impaired and you own a gun, that's still the same risk, kind of, isn't it?
No, I don't think, because that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to take your gun and start. What? Because you're high, you're going to take your gun and start shooting people? I don't know. I don't think that's really
all this stuff is a slippery slope to me.
That's
really
why
I'm no compromise.
That's
why.
You're the no compromise.
Once you go down the slope, I mean, you've said, well, if you're impaired, I don't think you should do it. Well, what's impairment? Now in Arizona, it's impaired to the slightest degree.
That's
the
debate we should have.
That means everybody's guilty.
What is impaired? Because some people can drive perfectly fine at 0.05, and some people can't.
Yeah, how will they ever come up with what's impaired? How is that something that can even be?
Because it's different for different people.
Well, we supposedly had the objective standard of 0.08, but here in Arizona, you can get convicted on less than 0.08.
You get convicted of DUI on 0.01.
And I personally
can
know
you
people.
Really?
Yes, 0.08 is just simply the point at which you are legally drunk.
But they can give you a DUI at anything?
If you're impaired, if the cop deems you as being impaired, whether that be
no matter what,
alcohol or drugs or lack of sleep, then that's it. That's all that needs to
You get a DUI for lack of sleep?
Oh, I think they just call it driving.
They call it a DUS?
Impaired driving or something. But still, you don't have to be at that 0.08. And a lot of people make that mistake. They think that, as long as I'm not at 0.08, I'm fine. But that's not the case.
Can you be
It is in other states.
Can you be impaired on...
I speak of Arizona when I speak.
Can you be impaired on energy drinks? Real question.
If anything you take impairs you, then you can be impaired. Whatever that may be. It's not like you can say, well, I was just taking cough syrup. If cough syrup impairs you, yes.
And you're foolish enough to admit it to the cop that you took it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't have to be legal or illegal drugs. It doesn't have to be, any certain thing.
So a question a lot of people have about the DUI thing. When you get a DUI, when they test your system, they don't automatically test for all kinds of things, do they? I mean, or is there just a standard that normal people use that they go ahead and test for? Or do they go, look at that guy, he needs to have this test done and this test done? Or how does that work?
Well, I'm not an expert on
I mean, I really don't know.
No, I don't either.
I'm sorry I'm coming up with these legal questions. I'm just thinking about them,
And again, it's not my answers my answers are not a legal answer. My answers are just my opinion. But I'm under the opinion that the breathalyzer I think it just tests for alcohol.
The breathalyzer does. That's
just
correct.
tests for alcohol, right? It doesn't test for other things.
Right,
so.
but if they arrest people, they take their blood, then they can test for whatever they want.
They can test for whatever they want at that
point. They can test
sure.
you for STDs at that point.
Anything.
Be like, hey, dude.
Anything. I mean, it's a blood test. They can test for whatever they want.
They test you for paternity.
That's and that might be the case.
Maybe for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, getting back to the subject at hand, you always like to just veer us off.
Sorry
of
about that.
Don't you, Joe? You always like to take us down those
paths. Is that what happened? I didn't mean to.
Yeah, you always like to take us down those paths I don't want to go. But no, you don't have to be 0.08 is what we're getting at. You don't have to be 0.08 to be drunk.
Right, and somebody out there said Sergeant C.
Sergeant C.
Sergeant C.
Do we know Sergeant C?
Yes, he was, and he was supposed to be on the show today, by the way.
Sergeant C said, great point. Why didn't Sergeant C call in?
Yeah.
Great point. Most people don't realize the slippery... Sergeant C, why don't you call in? Call in and...
C.
Give him the number.
480-745-1033. I'm going to look for the line that's... is he local?
Yeah, he's local.
I'm going to look for a local number popping up, Sergeant C. Go ahead and call us so we can get you on the line here. We want to talk to you.
Yes. See, he was going to come on the show today.
Right on.
Last minute, something happened. But
480-745-1033. Give us a quick buzz. We want to chat with you.
And he's got some interesting... and by the way, another friend of all ours. He's got some interesting philosophy and things on different subjects, too. One of them that he wants to talk about, I'm not going to give away today because we're going to actually try to have a whole show on that. It's a subject that he's got interest in. So
did I get Sergeant C?
We're going to have and I think we've got Sergeant C on the line right now.
So
right.
Our first,
hold
this may be our first live caller. This may be it, right? I don't
in
think
the history of the show.
I don't think we've had a live caller.
No, we have.
Have we?
We have.
Okay, all right.
Good.
Sergeant C. Is he there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, C.
What you got for us?
Actually, I can barely hear you guys.
Really?
Really? I
how's that? I can barely hear you guys on the phone.
How about now?
That must be better.
Yeah, I can hear you a little bit better.
Okay, what you got for us?
Well, you said you didn't want to give it away, but I mean, my big thing is the nanny state and how the government wants to take care of us. And as you guys know, I'm a little bit into food. And what really gets me, and Eric brought the point up of the slippery slope, is once the government starts something, they can't stop. And our food supply that they try to protect us so well in or help us along has really caused so many of the problems. And this was brought to my attention from my son the other day. We were, I won't say what iced tea that we were drinking, but the label was clearly, in large letters on the label of the can, natural, 100% natural.
Well, but just don't interrupt you, but arsenic is natural.
Everything in nature is natural, right?
Well, but then he turns around and reads the label and says high fructose corn syrup. And he says, Dad, corn is natural.
Corn is natural.
So, corn is natural, but the way they derive the high fructose corn syrup is not natural. And I asked them, well, how can they get away with this? And I did a little research, and of course, back in the 80s, we started with and thank God it's expired, but back in the 80s we started with the corn subsidy, and that's just the slippery slope that leads to so many other great things. Actually, it's a big market or a big driver for the illegal immigration problem. I know illegal immigration is not one of Mark's favorite terms, and I kind of agree with it, but in the U.S. it was cheaper to actually grow corn or sell corn for less than what it costs to grow it. So NAFTA comes along, which is supposedly some great thing, and then the U.S. farmers start selling all this product in Mexico are worse than what it actually costs to grow. Well, what happens to all these farmers that are working hard south of the border? They need to work, so they're going to come up here, work for, get a wage, all this because the government wants to help us, and, there's this slippery slope, and, of course, ethanol and everything else, so now you get the environmental impact and the food. Oh, now we have to buy this product to make the air cleaner. Well, Brazil, they can make ethanol much cheaper than we can. So now the tariffs go in place, and they start, putting a tariff on ethanol from Brazil.
Well, that's because it's made with sugar, right? Theirs is made with sugar, right? The Brazilian ethanol.
They actually use a natural sugar down in Brazil. They don't use the ethanol. They don't use the.
Right, they use cane sugar.
Is that right, C?
Yeah, they're using cane sugar down there.
Okay.
And now because it's probably going to come to light that since their farm subsidy has expired, I think it expired at the end of 2011. I'm not exactly sure, but they started using cane sugar, which was cheaper and more effective to making ethanol, as opposed to the sugars that we get from corn, and which is not an efficient, if you're going to go down that road of biofuel, it's not an efficient use of the land, because you can get more gallons per acre from things like switchgrass or wood chips or other byproducts.
And I read something recently too, that the ethanol now is doing harm to engines.
Yeah, those are unexpected costs that we have that are to us.
Yeah.
But we have Mayor Bloomberg that's going to help us with this whole food problem. He said government
he wouldn't like my drink right here. I can tell you that.
Yeah, that's more than 12 ounces.
It's more than the allowed amount.
Mayor Bloomberg's going to help you to protect us, and that's not going to be so cheap anymore. So maybe it'll get priced out of existence. It's worked for marijuana, hasn't it?
Yeah. So they're looking out for our interests. But I talked to you earlier today, I'd like to have a whole show on this, the food thing. It is a very important issue, obviously, what they're doing with food.
That's just the absolute. That's not even the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, I know. We need a lot more time to really get into it than we have.
Hey, I have a quick question for you. I know we only have a couple of minutes left, but what's the deal with the seeds? These Monsanto seeds and the other seeds that now you cannot. Normally, you can have seeds to grow. They say don't start storing seeds because the seeds will only grow one season now, and then they're dead. You know that, right?
Well, unless they're heirloom seeds.
Heirloom seeds, right. So that's a real big thing right now. Oh, my God.
Yeah. That's what these GMO crops are. They genetically modify them so the plant won't reproduce new seeds, so you have to buy new seeds every year from Monsanto or agribusiness companies, whereas the natural tomatoes. So I'm going to use the word natural. How it was meant to be used. You would just take the seeds out of the middle of your tomato, dry it, and plant it forever. You just keep planting it over and over.
Isn't that amazing? They're actually doing things to
ruin nature. Nature. Right.
That is just amazing to me.
This stuff has gone on for eons.
I had such a hard time believing that when I heard
just
that.
Fine.
Yeah, it's mind-boggling, isn't it? We're going to try to make it not produce seeds so that you have to buy
our seeds.
That just sucks. That sucks.
Wow, that is pretty bad. Well, I guess we're probably near the end of the show here. But thank you for calling in, and I do want to have you back on to do a whole show on that if we can.
I think that I can. I think that I can probably get that scheduled. Probably got to do a little bit more research because I don't want to say anything that's not true.
Okay.
And I'd like to. I actually like to have people go out there and look and look into these things as well. And hopefully add something to the show, because my big thing is the corn syrup, and I'm sure the government's involved in so many of our other food products.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I quit eating that completely, by the way.
Collateral damage, if you would, on the free market.
Yeah.
It's working.
But hey, great job, guys. I'll let you go.
Okay, thank you for calling in.
Hey, thanks, man.
All right, and on that note, Joe, I guess you should take us out.
I'm glad we called him, or he called in, or whatever happened.
We're going to try to get another whole show on that. I think
That's right. Well, hey, guys, it's been fun.
Thank you for listening again. And again, thank you for putting up with me for another week. Mark will be back next week at the regular time. And if you need to reach an investor, you can always reach us at attorneyforfreedom.com. And shoot Mark an email and give him any questions you have. He'd be happy to answer you.
And Mike, you always do a fabulous show. What do you guys think? How did Mike do out there?
You know what? That's a biased audience, but I'll take it, Joe. I'll take it.
You got to listen to our studio audience. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks again. We are out.
What's the question? You have been listening to the Attorney for Freedom radio show, hosted by the original man of peace and high-profile attorney for freedom, Mark J. Victor. See you next week, same time, for another dose of freedom. Until then, peace out.